I think there's so many things about sport that just transcend the game, right? And I think that's what makes it so beautiful, is that it's a language that we can use to really dive into the machinations of sobriety, what it takes to be sober every single day. I think one of our favorite conversations is talking about devotion and how sobriety is a choice that we make every single day. We wake up every single day and have to decide who we're going to be and how we're going to perform. And that kind of devotion of returning to something is much like practicing your free throw shot every day, being the first in the gym, getting there before everyone else gets to practice, practicing a full practice and then staying out. That's devotion. That's love of the game.
Welcome to the Sober Curator Podcast, where sobriety isn't just a lifestyle choice, it's the ultimate life hack. I'm Alysse Bryson, your fearless guide to a world where hangovers are canceled, fun is mandatory, and we still know how to shut down a dance floor, just with better shoes.
And I'm Tamara Routley, aka T-Bouge, your co-pilot, chaos coordinator, and the one who keeps Alysse from turning this podcast into a full-blown reality show. Buckle up, sober party people.
From lifestyle and travel to pop culture and zero-proof cocktails, we're serving up the stories, trends, and guests that prove sobriety isn't just about what you're missing. It's about finally remembering where you left your keys. Let's get the party started. Welcome back to another episode of the Sober Curator Podcast. And today I'm here with two of my friends from the Clean Play Podcast, where sports, sobriety, and wellness intersect. I'm talking with Anne Skriba, former college basketball player and coach, and I'm joined by my Texas BFF, Chris Marshall, a once licensed clinician and founder of Sands Bar. Together, we're exploring how athletics can fuel a sober lifestyle and the powerful stories behind them. So lace up, because we're about to show you how living alcohol-free can still mean playing full out. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
And the crowd goes wild, and the crowd goes wild. We shoot, we score. Okay, I should not be allowed to make any sports jokes because I am not sporty, at all. At all. I do have an outfit for every sporting occasion that I will go to in Seattle. I got my Mariners outfit. I got my Seahawks outfit. I got my Kraken outfit. I got my Sounders outfit. But that's as far as my sportiness goes.
Hey, that's a lot right there, though. You live in the greatest city in the world, so.
I do, Chris. You know I do. I know you love it here, too.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, I want to rewind a minute and figure how you two got partnered up. What's the backstory? Tell me the meet cute. When did you guys start talking to each other?
And so I started doing these the Luckiest Club meetings.
Sure, yeah.
5 years ago, just during COVID, actually. And Anne was on the meetings, and then I did an event in Miami when was that, Anne?
Gosh, almost 2 years ago, because I'm coming up on 3 years sober. So we've been in this for a minute.
Like 2.5 years ago. Yeah. I went to Miami, did an event, and we met in person. And I always wanted to do a podcast. I've always been intrigued by podcasts. And we just kept talking. It just seemed like this was the right thing. And what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I joined the Luckiest Club, shortly after I, stopped drinking and became, a pretty active member in all the meetings, but particularly the BIPOC group, which Chris leads. And so I think it was obviously our connection, and just like you said, we just kept talking, formed a friendship. But the way that I always would share and talk about my experiences of getting sober always had a sports analogy to it. It's just the way my mind works. Sure. I speak to the language of sport to relay my experience. And so we connected on that. And then one day Chris was like, we should do a podcast. And that was, several months before we actually pushed record. And then it's got to be maybe a year. I think maybe a year. It was a year in May, I think, that we started it. We're on
Okay.
season 2 now, but I thought we were going to be like planning the podcast, and Chris was just like, no, let's just do it. Let's just push play and see what happens.
Start before you're ready.
And,
Absolutely.
And so that's how we got here.
I love that. So you're in season 2. How many episodes do you run per season?
Around 20, I would say. Yeah, I mean, the first one
is
as many as we can get in.
Yeah,
like whatever, whoever says
Our
yes.
schedules
right?
Yeah.
Do you guys have like a favorite interview that you've done, or one? I mean, I'm sure they're all your favorites, but like one that was like super memorable or hard to get?
Oh, well, I know who I was thinking of. Who are you thinking of, Anne?
I'm probably thinking of the same person. I mean, I'm thinking Lauren Anderson. I think that was a big coup for us to be able to get her on the show.
You know
it wasn't hard to get.
Alysse?
No, I'm just gonna sit here and smile and nod.
No. Okay, so Lauren Anderson was the first principal Black ballerina of the Houston Ballet.
Oh wow, that is incredible.
I was a kid. Like Lauren Anderson was like I remember looking up to Lauren Anderson and just thinking to myself, like, what an amazing icon. Everyone in Houston's a big place, but everyone knew Lauren Anderson, and we got her on our podcast. It was absolutely amazing, and I was nervous the whole time.
Yeah, it was. She was incredible. Just so generous with her time and her story. And I DM'd her. I slid in the DMs. She was nothing but accommodating and very, very, very kind and gracious to just hop on the show. So that was really, really cool so far.
And she's got a great sobriety story.
Yeah, she does.
You got to have her.
I'm going to go listen to that episode now. I'm totally going to go listen to that episode. Yeah. And how did you know she was sober? Is she very vocal about that on her platforms?
She is. And so I followed her on Instagram for a while. Again, just admiring this person that I saw in my local news growing up in with the Nutcracker when she was the principal, like all of that is my childhood. And so to see this person on my feed one day talking about their sobriety and how they are very out and proud of being sober, it just was an amazing thing for me to encounter because it's rare, Alysse, we've both been sober a while. It's rare to see that people are sober as long as we are. And so it's just cool to see that not only has she been sober a long time, but she was very open about it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people in long-term recovery recovering out loud because when we got sober, people were not doing that, right? So there's still a lot of people not doing that. So yeah, that's super cool. And Anne, I love that you just slid into her DMs, right? Isn't it shocking how many people actually answer their own DMs? I mean, they may or may not still have somebody running it for them, but I'm always shocked when I get a response. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And, I did a lot of research on her, obviously, as I was, we were making our pitch and things like that. But, especially for me, as a woman of color to see someone at the top of their particular industry. And again, she couldn't have been more kind. She was super, super great to work with. So highly recommend if you can get her on this platform too.
Yeah. She's fantastic. Has a great story. Yeah. Was just so generous with her time and reshared our just a really, really cool person. It's Houston's Macklemore.
Oh, okay. I see
like iconic sober people like Lauren Anderson did for Houston.
I get that. Okay, who else? I mean, you've had a bunch on, so you've got to have a few other favorites. I mean, besides all of them, but
one of my favorites was my buddy John.
He's our first guest.
And I love that episode because John has become a dear friend of mine. Met John through my business, Sands Bar. John came to Sands Bar 2022 and was just kind of like looking for community and looking for connection. And then he became our norm of the bar, in Cheers. Like he just became that person everyone is excited to talk to. A sober norm, yeah. Walks behind the bar, gets his own beer, he's just like this, it's his home. And he's what I call a Sands ambassador. Just great for everyone who comes into the bar. And so he's also a great sports person too, loves to talk sports, and we talk sports all the time, and had him on the podcast. And it was great to merge the world of Sands Bar plus this podcast, which I've just really enjoyed doing with Anne over the last couple of years.
Well, there's so much happening around sobriety and sports, even from my non-sporty spice perspective. So yesterday I was part of Recovery Day at the Mariners here in Seattle. And this was now the 5th year that I've been part of that. And it's incredible. I mean, there's over 2,000 of us. I mean, we're definitely in the nosebleed section for sure, but there's like over 2,000 people there that are all recovering out loud, and they turn the beer tabs off for that section of the stadium. And, there's a rally beforehand. And so because I know about that one, I've watched for all the other ones that happen around the country. There's quite a few. And then even in Colorado, the Sober AF Entertainment Group, they do a lot of tailgating events at a lot of football and a lot of basketball. And so there's definitely a movement happening. And it makes sense. Aren't athletes like super healthy, not wanting to put poison in their body, I'm guessing?
Right. And that's the irony of it, right? It's like, we watch these people who are in peak physical condition on Sundays or on a Thursday baseball game or on the court playing an NBA final, and we consume a poison. It's the most, kind of ironic thing. And Anne talks about all the time about being an athlete and how, peak condition her body was when she was at that level.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, another, huge component, kind of movement was the Oklahoma City Thunder. They win the championship this year. They're the youngest team in the NBA to ever win. And there was a lot of alcohol left in the locker room. And a lot of those young players never even opened a bottle of champagne. They didn't know how to do it. And they were like, oh, this beer doesn't taste very good. And, it's something that is getting more spotlight for sure within the sports world, which I love to see.
For sure. I think it's so cool that you guys met online in a sober community and then became friends, because I've met so many people, Chris being included, but so many people in the last 5 years in the sober community that I would have never have probably met if there hadn't been a pandemic, quite honestly. Like, I definitely think for me, that's the silver lining of the pandemic, is how many people have come into my life, and you can make real connections just like this and end up like having these people like really in your life, and sometimes I've ended up with friends that even feel closer than maybe even some of my friends that are right down the street in some cases. What do you hope that at the end of every episode, your listeners walk away with after listening to your podcast?
I hope people walk away with a curiosity. And, what I have come to realize, especially about myself as an athlete, I think the reason why athletes are heralded as, people who people look up to and kind of like these role models, mentors, and things like that, is because to pursue greatness in an athletic context, you have to give so much of yourself. There's so much discipline required. And it's just a pursuit to be at your best self in all these ways, physically, mentally, emotionally. And I think in some ways, whether you're pursuing sobriety or not, we all want to extract as much as we can out of this life. And I hope that people realize that sobriety is another way to do that. And if you are a sports-minded person or someone who is athletic or enjoys fitness and being in good shape, like that is another level. It's like a game changer to what you're already doing. It supplements and even excels what you're able to do in all these other healing modalities that I don't even necessarily think people, often, think sports and sobriety go together. So I hope that people walk away with new ways of pursuing excellence and being the best version of themselves in ways maybe they haven't thought of.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like when I listen back to it, the conversation that these two people are having sounds like a sports show. We talk sports, we talk finals, we talk, the dead season in June when there's hardly any sports on. We talk about the playoffs. We talk about WNBA drama. We talk about golf. We've talked about almost every sport imaginable. And at the same time, it feels like a conversation about sobriety. And so even if you have very little understanding of sport, it is a great way to just think about sobriety in a different context, in a different way. And I think that that's what makes it really special, is that mean, we talked about sobriety in every imaginable way possible, but to talk about it through the lens of sports is really great. I think there's a demographic of people who are getting sober who love sport. And this is like their way in. Like, I was just on Tony Lara's Recovery Rocks final episode.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the music was just this intersection of music and sobriety, right? And it's like for a lot of people, music was their in. They understand music. They're music aficionados. And the same thing I think works for sport. A lot of people just love sport of all kinds. And this is a great way to connect what they love with what they want to achieve, which is long-term recovery.
Have you guys talked to Corey from Sober Golf yet?
No, and I know.
Would you like an introduction?
You know,
yes. I can make that happen. Corey is so cool. When I tracked him down when he was just getting started, and I had my eye on it because Ben Haggerty, Macklemore does have a golf line as well here in Seattle. And I actually really love a lot of the clothing, the apparel in his lines, even though I'm also not a golfer. I mean, I can do some real mean putt, you guys, but like, I'm not a golfer, but there's a lot of apparel that I really liked. And so when I saw the Sober Golf hit, and his creative, his vibe is so clean. But then when I talked to him and he looks at recovery through the game of golf and like really breaks it down. And just to watch how he's blown up in the last year. I mean, obviously very, very niche, it's people that are obsessed with golf that also are sober curious or have quit. So very, very niche, but I think that's such a great thing. We see that in so many areas. I mean, you've got Alexandra Nyman, who does the Break Free fashion show, right? So that's the fashion people that are getting sober. It's like when you get sober, you have to find things to do that you enjoy because you're giving up something that you thought you were enjoying, right? So it's really important to be able to still fill your cup.
Yeah, I agree. Having that thing that gets you excited about life, whatever the spark is such an important element.
So, what sports did you guys play when you were little?
Yeah, I fell in love with basketball at the age of 2. I told my mom when I was 2 that I wanted to go to Duke, and so basketball was it. But I played, a ton of sports in high school. I played volleyball, softball, track, soccer, but basketball was the one for me that I fell in love with and still am in love with to this day.
Yeah, I unlike Anne. That's why I mentioned about Anne's athleticism.
She's dialed.
I'm just a fan. I played a little bit of basketball in middle school, but that was about it as far as organized sports. Worked at a golf course. That was my first. I worked at a country club. Did the driving range and took care of the golf course. So, as in high school, I think that was probably about it. But have always loved golf. Have always loved basketball. Will always loved a good pickup game of football. Like I'm always going to have fun with sport. I just I'm not as athletic as I like to be. Maybe.
And I'll have you know, I was a point guard in junior high.
Okay.
2 years. I played my 7th and 8th grade year. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, I can see AB putting it up. I can see. I can see AB putting them up.
Well, and I was telling someone the other day, this is also funny. In my senior high school annual, next to the glamour shots, you had to say like what you were going to be when you grew up or something. You guys, I said I was going to be a professional pickleball player.
Wow.
Yeah. Ahead of her time, right? Ahead of her time. And did you know pickleball came from the Pacific Northwest?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you guys interviewed any sober pickleball players?
Not yet.
I think we're
okay. If I go and find one, can I make that happen?
I mean, I think pickleball.
You're not a pickleball fan. Chris, have you played? Or are you just casting judgment?
Oh, I'm just casting judgment. I'm just completely passive.
Right.
I just look, everyone that plays pickle that gets into it, they just change. They're just not the same people. And I ask myself, what is a sport if it does that to people? Is it really worth it? Is it something we should really
What was that other sport workout that everybody was doing that changed people? It was
CrossFit.
CrossFit.
CrossFit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
like a cult
cross-cult.
in itself. Yeah.
Mhm.
Just saying.
I never understood that because as a former college athlete and college coach and somebody that like worked with strength and conditioning coaches, like it was very important that we would have the right technique to do those type of lifts. And so to just drag random people off the street and be like, you're gonna do these, ups and all that. I'm just like, this is an injury waiting to happen. Like people have to be getting hurt left and right.
So Anne, I have to know what brand of shoe are you like? What's your shoe? Are you a Nike girl?
Kobe.
Are you just okay?
Kobe all day. Obviously his shoes are incredibly hard to get these days. I think Nike is in the stages of reproducing them, but I will say I love to rock a Steph Curry too. So my shoe choice is more about the player rather than the brand. So I'm not all Nike. But yeah, right now in my rotation I have Curry's, and I have one pair of Kobe's that the laces broke. I can't wear them anymore, but I still have them in the closet.
Do you just need some new laces? Like
no. I mean,
like that.
They're pretty done. They're done. But I didn't want to throw them away, especially after 2020, because I was like,
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Chris, what's your sneaker game like?
The last pair of sneakers I bought were from Walmart, and they were $16.
Okay.
And they are so comfortable. And I shot some hoops about 2 hours ago, and I was like, I'm trying to get. It's cooling down, and it was still hot this summer. Finally cooling down to where you can get out there a little bit. And I was feeling great. I was walking on clouds. I mean, it's just, it's more about function after a certain age.
Sure, absolutely. All right, if you could each get to pick your dream guest to come on your show, because probably they're listening to this podcast and they're going to hear it, and then they're going to slide into your DMs. Yes. So who, and they could be sober, maybe they're not. I don't know if that's your requirement, but like, who would that be? Gosh, I think hard. They have to be alive though for this game. They have to be alive.
Okay, because if they weren't alive, it would Kobe Bryant,
right?
Obviously. Chris, you got one?
I do actually.
Go ahead.
And, he's like ready to go.
Closer to Alysse than anyone. Richard Sherman. First of all, the Richard Sherman podcast is great. I'm a big fan of the podcast, but also I know Mr. Sherman has struggled and talks about very openly talked about his relationship with alcohol. And, as a fan of the Seahawks for many, many years, and even willing to overlook his 49ers fraternization that he continues to do. I still think that he's a great voice for the 206, and I love everything about Richard Sherman. And so I would say him over Marshawn Lynch, although I would love Marshawn Lynch. I just think that Sherman would be a great guest because I think it would fit into the ethos of what we talk about on the podcast.
That's a good one. I'm actually going to go a Seattle connection here too, just because I love her so much. But I would love to have Sue Bird on. There is not anyone that I have seen her on so many podcasts, and every podcast she's on, every person is just like, she's just so cool. Like Sue is the coolest person ever. So I would love to have her, and I would, hopefully think she would, drag Diana Taurasi, to do the interview with her. So if we could get that 2-for-1, that'd be great. But I'd love that.
I would be nervous. Wow.
Clearly, you guys just need to relocate to Seattle. I mean, that's.
Hey, I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it.
Look, I mean, it is a little. And okay, have you been to Seattle? Okay, so as every time I go there, there's that Seattle freeze. It's real.
I believe it. But I grew up in the Midwest, so I'm not a stranger to winter.
Because we have so many.
Oh no, not winter. I'm talking social. Like it's like a social.
People. We have so many awkward tech bros. I think that's part of it.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they kind of like freeze you out. Like you're not really like they don't welcome you. Like I'm from Texas. Everyone's like, "Hey, how you doing?"
It's so different. Like when I went to Texas, I could not believe how nice everybody was. I was like, why are all these people talking to me? Am I just that popular in Texas? And then I realized it wasn't me. Yeah, it's just what you guys do.
You are popular in Texas. But no, we are it's different. It's different. And it is something that I don't know if I could ever get used to that though. Like the way that people are just kind of very guarded and very like, you have to really, really hang around for a while for people to like feel like they can open up to you.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Maybe because they're so damp, though. You know, we're still trying to like dry out.
Dry out. I've seen that.
At least my favorite show of all time is Frasier. So love it.
Love that. I love that. Okay, speaking of shows, I have to ask you, Anne, specifically, did you see the show that came out in the last year with Kate Hudson, Running Point, the basketball show?
I did not.
You absolutely have to add that to your playlist. Her family owns a basketball team, and her parents are gone, and it's run by her older brother who goes to rehab. So obviously it was very easy for me to do a review for the Sober Curator.
Sure.
And then she has another brother. Anyway, story ensues. She ends up becoming like the boss of the team because her brother's in rehab. Story ensues from there. Chet Hanks, Tom Hanks' son, is one of the players, and he has to go to rehab. And she says this amazing line, and I actually made it into artwork, and I had it at Recovery Day at the Mariners yesterday, and it was a big hit. But she was telling him that because he came to her house and is like telling her, okay, you're right. I got to get clean. I got to deal with this problem, but they're getting ready to go into the playoffs. And so, and she's like, listen, like, can you hold it together to get us through the playoffs, or do you need to go now? He's like, I can do it. I'll be sober. Which we all know he's not going to be able to do. Right. But it's cute that he thinks he can. And she's like, I'm not talking California sober. I'm talking Robert Downey Jr. sober. And it was just like, I'm a Robert Downey Jr. fan. And so I just thought that line was so iconic, but it's a good basketball show. I like it.
I'll definitely add that to the playlist. Kind of sounds like the Bus family, the Lakers,
like
Jeannie had to take over.
Real life. Yeah.
But, yeah. Okay.
Oh,
definitely.
It might be. I mean, it definitely was a California team. I don't remember it being the Lakers though, but for some reason I thought it was San Diego, but I know it was in California. I was paying more attention to Kate's power suits because she had some really good power suits.
Oh, I bet.
So talk to me a little bit more about how you string the needle through and connect sports and sobriety, recovery, whatever word. Like, what is that like? If we just met and I didn't understand what that meant at all, and I kind of don't, like, how would you explain that to me?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there's so many different ways in which we think about sobriety. And, Anne comes to this conversation as both a player and a coach at the collegiate level. And then I come, yes, with Sandbar, but I also come with my own 8 years as a licensed clinician. And I think that those two kind of like coaching, mentoring minds meet when we talk about doing life. And so sometimes we explain how we stay sober through the lens of just what we've learned through recovery and what I've learned through being a licensed counselor and what I've learned through 18 years of sobriety. And sometimes Anne has a better lens of looking through something when it comes to coaching or sport. And there's a sports analogy. There's a term in sport that we can bring into talking about how we stay sober. So it's like this beautiful balance. And sometimes there's just, like there's words in Spanish that there aren't in English. There's just some things just don't translate.
Yeah, I get that.
I think there's so many things about sport that just transcend the game, right? And I think that's what makes it so beautiful, that it's a language that we can use to really dive into the machinations of sobriety, what it takes to be sober every single day. I think one of our favorite conversations is talking about devotion and how sobriety is a choice that we make every single day. We wake up every single day and have to decide who we're going to be and how we're going to perform. And that kind of devotion, of returning to something, it's much like practicing your free throw shot every day, being the first in the gym, getting there before everyone else gets to practice, practicing a full practice and then staying out. That's devotion. That's love of the game. And that, again, is like an example of just how, yes, we could just talk about it through the lens of like devotion and staying, on the beam of sobriety and using all these terms. But it's so visceral when we talk about through the lens of sports. I can imagine someone,
that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I'll give you a good example because we were on a meeting last week and Chris had a really good topic that was, talking about shame and guilt. And so as, the meeting's going on and, we're hearing all these wonderful shares, like my mind automatically goes to sports. And so I shared that in my mind. I feel like shame and guilt, like we just distilled down that, shame is, you're ashamed of who you are, like you are bad, versus guilt is I did something bad. And so I thought about it through the lens of something all athletes have to do, which is watch film. You have to watch the game. You have to understand what went right, what went wrong. And I related guilt to being like, I played badly. But shame is if I watch the film and I say, I'm a bad player, I should just stop playing. Right? Mm-hmm. It's just a different thing because it doesn't really make sense for an athlete who's training for all these hours to look at one game and say, I'm completely, I should just stop playing. I should hang it up. Right. And so that was kind of another way that we can kind of bring the point home. And one of the things that we've come to learn and I definitely go off in my sports. Chris and I sometimes have to bring ourselves back on the show and be like, they don't know all the nuances. We had a whole thing about the Luka Doncic thing and people are like, what's a Luka? So we have to sometimes, come back. But what I've come to realize is that even people in my life, friends, family, or people who listen to our show that are not sports people can still understand the language of it. It still makes sense in their mind. And so again, it's just been a really powerful tool to explain, like Chris was saying, these concepts in a different way.
Well, and I think, the thing that's not lost on me is the obvious community. The cliche saying of the opposite of addiction is connection, but you can't be an athlete and not be part of a community because you can't, even if you're playing a sport that is all by yourself, like golf or tennis, like you still have coaches, you still have all these other people surrounding you, especially when you're at a professional level. And so I can see where that connection is quite obvious. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No matter, even if you're a runner, we've had a few,
we did have a runner on.
Yeah. We had Crystal, who's run marathons all over the United States. And she talked about that. It's how, although it is you're training by yourself, you're getting up at 4:30 in Chicago, running in ice. You're doing it in community. You're doing it as part of a larger connective body, which is really, really cool. And of course, that really jives well with what we talk about at Sandbar, and of course, what sports is, right? And I believe that the joy of this podcast is finding that connection, giving people a community, a way to identify beyond just being sober or just being a sports fan. I really want people to say, I don't get anything about this, sports thing, but I do appreciate this community of people who are also listening and trying to better their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing too, like Chris talked about, he's coming at it from a fan's perspective. And I think that is one of the things that sports does is it brings people together in a way that nothing else really can. One of the things I still love, I was out watching football yesterday, drinking non-alcoholic beer, of course. That was a shift that I had to make early on in my sobriety. But to sit at a bar and just look up at a TV screen and sit next to somebody who may be rooting for the same team or not, there's an instant connection, whether you're on the same team or not. And the whole bar, is excited when somebody scores or upset when somebody scores. It's a community unlike any other. And I think that's part of what we want to do too, is create environments where people don't have to feel like they can't be in that sports excitement if they're not, consuming alcohol.
Which is why I love sober apparel and merch, is because it does give us that identity piece, right? When I got my Seahawks hat on and I was in Boston a couple weeks ago for an event. So I was like, go Hawks. And I was like, yeah, go Hawks, I love that. It makes you feel this instant kindred connection with someone that you will never see again, right? And it's just really, really fun to identify each other that way. And I know that there's, it's a weird thing. We've never quite gotten that apparel thing right, because it's every time I see someone try to, it's a hard thing, right? Alysse, haven't you seen things come and go?
Yeah, it's tricky. And just to echo off of that, before I launched the Sober Curator, I did not recover out loud on the internet, right? It was not on my Facebook. It was definitely not on my LinkedIn. If you got to know me in real life and it came up in an organic way, I wasn't ashamed of it, but I wasn't putting it on a hat or a t-shirt. Right. And so now I don't rock sober merch all the time, but sometimes I rock a little, whether it's my own or some stuff that people send me. And often when I'm out running around town or traveling, like I forget that it's on my forehead, right? Like I'm not thinking about it. And then somebody will say something, much like you being in Boston and someone saying, "Go Hawks." I'll have somebody be like, "What is that?" Or "I'm sober too." So it gives me the opportunity to recover out loud without saying a word, really, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I also get some weird looks, but that's okay. That's okay.
The weird looks are okay, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Like it's totally fine. Another thing I want to ask you, Chris, just because you have been sober longer than Anne, is you, and being a fan of sports and going to games of all kinds, like you have seen the shift, or you're seeing the shift in real life happening with alcohol consumption at games, and even the marketing we're seeing around all of it, whether it was, what was the soccer game last year that there was no alcohol allowed at the whole World Cup or something like that.
And Olympics.
Right. And now there was a, NA beer in the Super Bowl, commercial this last year. Like, so we're seeing it. What has that been like for you to see it over the trajectory of your 18 years? Because it was definitely not happening 17 years ago. Let's be clear.
No, I mean, it feels like it wasn't even happening 17 and a half years. Like, this feels like it's months old. And I think it's here to stay, though, because I think what we're recognizing here in North America is this potential. But honestly, Heineken has been outpacing Heineken, and I'm pretty sure this is right. So, don't quote me, though. I'm pretty sure that Heineken in Germany has matched or even outpaced alcoholic Heineken. Heineken Zero has outpaced.
Heard that. No, I've heard that. So
it's like there's something happening globally where people are just consuming less alcohol. And what I think is really interesting, especially with the sport of soccer or football, is that it's a sport that's enjoyed by a lot of the world, and a lot of the world does not consume alcohol.
Yep.
And we just tend to forget that. We have a very, Americentric view of life and think that everyone consumes alcohol the way that we do. And that's not true. A lot of the Middle East, I went to Morocco, and it was so great to go to a bar and watch soccer and for hours, and no one was drinking alcohol. It wasn't even an offer. Like you just couldn't find alcohol. People were drinking tea, sparkling water, bitters and soda, like a bitter root kind of tea thing. Like it was all these drinks. So it's been cool to see the evolution of offerings. And now when I go to my local wing bar here in Austin, there's several non-alcoholic beers and at least 2 mocktails. And it's like very, very common to see that now. And I think we're just going to continue to see that.
Which is wild, because we didn't even have that 3 years ago or 5 years ago. We didn't have that at all. And now you can go pretty much anywhere and there's something on the menu. Doesn't mean
especially
it's
in Seattle. Seattle has a lot of places.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it's all good, but you can definitely find it for sure. Yeah. What's next for you guys? You're just going to
I have to say,
keep on the court recording away.
Keep recording away. I honestly don't know. Someone asked me the other day, like, how long are you going to do this podcast for? And I'm like, you know what? Until we feel like we're done with it. I think just like we just pressed play and started. We don't have any edits. We just press play and go. With one take.
There's a lot of people that podcast that way, actually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's very common. And you can tell, like it's very we don't edit any. Some things I wish I could take back and I can't. But yeah, I think we will press play until we press stop. So I think that's really cool. But what has happened as a result of this is that I've been able to watch my teammate, watch Anne become this really great off the ball mind, meaning that she has just become someone that I really admire and look up to. She's not only just taken this Clean Play podcast and become a co-host, she's also become a coach. She has her own coaching program now, and it is doing amazing things. She's working with people right now and guiding people through their journey of sobriety. And I mean, I don't want to talk for Anne, but I'm just saying, like, it's been very, very cool to watch Anne move from coaching football to coaching life. I think it's a really, really remarkable thing that I've been able to witness. So that's what I hope we can see more of Anne coming into her own as a coach.
Well, I got a good co-host and a better teammate now. Thank you so much for that, Chris. Yeah, I mean, I think, again, what's next is we're going to keep going. I would love to see, like you said, having a plethora of different guests on. We've kind of expanded our view. I think, we were very kind of tuned into the sport and sobriety in season 1, where we've had guests on who have nothing to do with sports. They just share about their sobriety. And we've had people who really don't necessarily aren't in the sober world, but share about their athletic and sports background. So we're kind of, broadening our scope. But yeah, I think what this podcast has done for me is, like Chris said, it's been a launching pad to a lot of things. I do have my own coaching business now, Clean Play Coaching, that I work with, people that are, whether they're deciding to stop drinking alcohol or working through an identity shift, whatever that is. I know that it's been a launching pad for Chris too. He has some projects in the works that I'm really excited to see come down the pike. And I think it's just given us a platform, not just to be able to hopefully share things that are helpful for other people, but I've seen him grow in real time. The man wrote a book. I gotta brag on my guy too. If you have not read Faster Than Light, go get it. But there's so much about his journey that inspires me, and just being able to come together. Maybe not as often as we like or as consistently as we'd like, but there was a devotion to this podcast and this platform, and it's done great things for both of us. So I'm just really happy to be a part of it.
Oh, I love that. And Tamara and I talk about this all the time. Like, we have so much fun. Like, we hope people are listening, but if they're not, whatever. We have now archived our conversations and we're happy about it.
Right.
We think we're funny, so whatever.
It's great. It's great. And I mean, I think that's the best thing is that, I've listened several times. I've just been stuck in an airport on a layover and just like, what? Just listen back. And I forget how we just feed off of each other. I forget how it's cool to just listen to over time, just how our energy is like, we just know where the other person is going. And it's the thing about entrepreneurship that I love the most is when you find good teammates. Because just like in sports, like the right teammate can make all the difference in the world. So
Agree.
Having the right business partner has been amazing. Again, we've just been able to just learn to feed each other. And I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking
of having the right guy, Micah Parsons might be the right guy for Green Bay.
Yeah, Green Bay. Yeah, listen, we gotta talk. Look, we gotta have a conversation about that, because I'm like, that game. Oh man, Dallas.
I know.
Dallas, man.
Green Bay.
We got to talk about that. We got to talk.
We got a whole episode about that.
We got to have the whole episode about that. What was I going to say? Oh, Anne, are you coming to Austin in November?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I'll be there.
Well, then you will meet Alysse.
Yes.
Can't wait.
Right. All right. As we start to wind down, we're going to put links to all your places in the show notes. Awesome. But one of the things we do at the end of our episodes, you might have noticed with all the crap behind me that I am like the queen of tchotchkes. Like there's not a tchotchke I've ever turned down. There's not a gift shop I've never loved. And so a while ago, Tamara was like, you should start telling a story about one of your weird things at the end of every episode. I was like, who cares? And she was like, I do. And I was like, well, fine, I'll do it for you. So I've got the perfect thing for you guys. I got to grab it.
I have been looking back behind, like looking at all the things.
It's a lot. I know it's a lot. The once a month when I dust, it's like an all day thing. Like what? It's like, it's like a ridiculous situation. But this I'm very proud of. I've actually recently featured it on the Sober Curator, but maybe you haven't seen it, but I bedazzled this Nike shoebox.
There's cool.
Over 20,000 gems. And I wrote a whole article about basically sobriety, just glue it, and how you can apply the Nike philosophy to sobriety. Wow. So this is my tchotchke of the week, and I will also never do this again.
Yeah. That is incredible.
It's crazy,
That's
right?
Cool.
Somebody was like, well, now what are you going to do with it? I was like, oh, what? I don't know. Put
Like
things in
you
it?
can't just put like receipts in there. Like
I can't know, right? Like maybe I'll make it like my God box or something.
Yes.
Or
Did
I
you do
don't
this
know.
where it says like the shoe size and stuff? Did you bedazzle that too?
You know I did.
Oh my gosh, you did the whole
What-
thing.
What were the original shoes what were the kicks that you had in there? What was it? What was
That was I could go grab them. It was I got
They
them
look
for
like
my
a dunk.
birthday.
was
Yeah,
it? Was it a
was-
dunk of some
Oh
sort?
gosh, hold on.
Got to look through the gems.
Like, how are you seeing that? And I don't.
Midnight Navy W Nike. I don't know. They were denim. And I like them because they
okay.
were denim because I'm, denim hip hop is kind of how I roll.
Denim hip hop's the aesthetic.
Yeah.
I love
But
it.
I have been finding orange gems in very strange places around the house. Very strange places. So that is my tchotchke of the week.
Love it.
If you guys ever need me to bedazzle something for you, like Chris, maybe when I'm done reviewing your book, I could bedazzle the book.
I could-
bedazzle the book.
yeah,
I mean,
It
right?
just-
Like,
it
frame
needs
that,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Faster than light. I think that could be really
I say
cool.
you can never have enough bedazzle. I think
I mean,
we-
you can't. You can't.
the
No.
world could be a different place if we only had more bedazzling and more jazzercising.
I'm here for that.
I think when we stop
That's also a
jazzercising,
sport.
the
That's
world
also a
changed,
sport.
and it just never been the same.
And Zumba is not the same thing.
No,
Let's be
no,
clear.
no,
it's not.
no.
Mm-mm. 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 All right, you guys. Well, where can our many, 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 many listeners find you?
My website is cleanplaycoaching.com and also same name on Instagram, Clean Play Coaching. We also have a Clean Play podcast page. We upload clips. We're getting some technological advancements in season 2.
It's an honor to be on this podcast. For real.
Yes, thank you.
for having us.
Thank you guys for showing up and bringing your full selves to the court. I see what I did there.
I like
So
it. I like
sporty
it.
right
I
now.
like it.
So
Yes.
sporty right now. Well, you guys, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember that getting sober matters, but staying sober matters more. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in because let's be real, we're way more fun than your ex's drunk texts.
If you laughed, learned, or just need more of our voices in your life, honestly, I mean, who wouldn't? Hit that subscribe button, leave us a review, and send this episode to your sober or your I swear I'm only drinking on the weekends besties.
And if you have a story, feedback, or hey, maybe you just want to slide into our DMs like it's 2012, well, you know we're here for it. Find more curated magic at thesobercurator.com. And remember, getting sober matters, staying sober matters more. Until next time, keep it real, keep it fun, and keep it sober.